Hey cats, what's happening? You know, ever since I was a kid, I dreamed of being the leader of a motorcycle club. It was Christmas morning back in the late 60s, and I remember my dad saying, go look in the other bedroom for your present. And I was pretty amazed when I went in there and found a brand new bicycle. My brothers and I all got bicycles that year. And from that day on, you know, I was the leader of the gang. I had my bicycle that I tricked out. I put what they called the banana seat on it and the sissy bar. I put the, ape hanger handlebars on it. And we lived in a very rural area, so I would just ride up and down the street. There was never any traffic on our road, and pretend that there was hundreds of motorcycles behind me, and I was the leader. Well, over the years, I guess my fantasy kind of came about to be to some degree. I was never the leader officially of a motorcycle club, but I had plenty of experience to fill that dream. I think it was probably in the mid-70s as I began to ride motorcycles that I actually started my own motorcycle club. It was unofficial by any means, but I rallied up about 5 other guys who had motorcycles, and we started the Pack MC. Now, it didn't work out like I planned because nobody could ever get together at the same time, and it was just totally disorganized. Whenever we could go riding, we would go riding together. Sometimes there was 5 or 6 of us, and sometimes only 2 of us. It was a pretty ragtag group, but it was fun. As time went on, I got more involved in the motorcycle culture, and I started tagging along with a motorcycle club called Born Free. They were a wild group of guys, and I was really into that party scene. At that time, I was doing a lot of drinking and drugs and carrying on, so that wild life was right up my alley. For the most part, though, I enjoyed more riding solo, I guess, being more independent than being caught up with the club and all of their rules and following the leader. I've always been a leader, and so it didn't work for me to follow very well. I was always frustrated with some of the plans that went along with the ride. Later on in life, I became more into the culture, deeper into the culture, began to meet a lot of other bikers and a different kind of lifestyle. Was still very much into the party scene. Used to hang out at the bar a lot and was known by everybody there. We were all a pretty tight-knit family at the biker bar. I was in a club called the Cats, which was unofficial as well, but there was a pretty good following there, and we did a lot of serious riding. In fact, we rode across the country. We rode out to Sturgis, we rode to the East Coast, and I had a lot of fun with those guys too. Eventually I signed on with Rolling Thunder and quickly became a fully patched member of Rolling Thunder, which I was a member of that club for many years and was pretty involved with all the fundraising and the things we did for veterans and POWs and MIAs. So we did a lot to support those guys, and that was a pretty good group to be involved in. However, just like any club, there was dissension in the ranks, and the president stepped out. And then there was nobody to fill his shoes, is what it boiled down to, and one of the guys took over as the president of that chapter. He and I didn't see eye to eye, and things got even worse. He approached me and told me he wanted my rocker, that he didn't want me being in the chapter. I didn't want to hang out with him either, so it was my pleasure to rip my rocker off and hand it to him and told him where to stick it. Over the years, though, there's been a lot of changes in that organization. That guy's no longer around. I've been asked I don't know how many times to come back and re-sign up with Rolling Thunder, but that life isn't for me. At any rate, over the years of my riding, I was asked numerous times to lead the pack, which was my pleasure. Sometimes for a while there, I was not drinking at all, and so I was always asked to lead the group because a lot of the guys would drink, who would stop at the bars and they would drink and drink and drink, and then they'd be so looped, they'd say, "Oh, would you please lead the group back home? So we'll just follow you." Fine. That was easy for me because I knew where all those stoplights were and which turns to make so that we didn't end up getting lost, or worse yet, in an accident because somebody couldn't go the speed limit or whatever. So, like I said, a number of times I was asked to lead the group. Now, one of the most memorable experiences I think I ever had as being leader of the pack was a time where we had a large group ride, and we rode down to Columbus, Ohio, and it was there was hundreds and hundreds of bikes. I think the whole procession was about 3 miles long. There was police escort. They would actually block off the ramps to the expressway so cars wouldn't interfere with the string of motorcycles that were going. I was like number 3 in that line of bikes. I was way up at the front, right behind the road captain and the president that was leading the group. So that was pretty neat for me to look in the mirror and see hundreds and hundreds of motorcycles behind us, and very proud to lead the group. Like I said, that was a highlight of my riding career. Now in my older age, with health issues the V and I have encountered, other life changes, I know I'm no longer involved in the party scene that I once was, so I've cleaned up my act, clean and sober. I'm not afraid to have a beer once in a while with my dinner, but I'm not one to engage and sit at the bar and just drink all night either. I try to stay away from alcohol. It just ends up making me sicker than I already feel with all my aches and pains of age. So clean things up, no longer involved in that. My dream was fulfilled of leading the pack. I no longer have that dream or that fantasy to do that any longer. Been there, done that, I guess you could say. And no longer have any interest in being in the clubs anymore either. Independent is the way to go. Freedom, not being tied down by rules and all of the demands and following the lead to do what they're going to do, and with no concern of your time or idea. So anyway, there's my story of the leader of the pack. I hope you enjoyed that. I got more where that came from. Until next time, cats, ride hard and die free.
Tears were beginning to show. As he crawled away from the internet, I begged him to go.